Well, folks, we've reached the end of the week, and that means it's time, once again, for Ben After Dark. Yeah, we're doing it again. This week, Joe Biden issued a challenge to Donald Trump, a challenge to debate. This came as a bit of a surprise to many observers who are convinced that Biden would try to avoid debates, given that he now looks like a live audition for the Crypt Keeper. And in fact, Joe Biden's challenge video required more jump cuts than a McGee music video, 5 in 14 seconds.
Donald Trump lost 2 debates to me in 2020. And since then, he hadn't shown up for debate. Now he's acting like he wants to debate me again. Well, make my day, pal. I'll even do it twice. So let's pick the dates, Donald. I hear you're free on Wednesdays.
There's only one reason Biden is willing to debate. He is losing, and he knows it. And he's losing because he's very bad at this whole being president thing, which means he's now trying to shift the focus to his opponent, Donald Trump. He is hoping that Orange Hulk will try to smash, the way he did in the first 2020 debate, when Trump yelled at him for like 2 hours. Biden's plan is to just basically stay alive. He's hoping his team will hook him up to one of the youngsters for a quick blood transfusion, and then he'll be able to stay upright for a couple of hours. Not a particularly high bar, but it's a risky move for Biden. After all, he is, as we have said, very, very, very bad at the presidenting. If Trump just stands there pointing, like Donald Sutherland from the Invasion of the Body Snatchers, Joe Biden loses. Biden, however, is counting on Trump to start screaming and shouting, and it's not the world's worst bet. The debate could easily turn into a debate between the Rancor from Return of the Jedi and Bernie from Weekend at Bernie's. Still, it's a risky bet for Joe Biden, and only a losing candidate has to take those kinds of risks. Speaking of which, Joe Biden's losing candidacy continued this week in other ways too. This week, he asserted executive privilege in order to prevent Congress from obtaining tape of him speaking with Special Prosecutor Robert Hur. You remember Robert Hur. He was the guy investigating Joe Biden's mishandling of classified information. When Biden left classified documents in his garage, and in his car, and in his drawer of Depends. You'll remember that Hur concluded that Biden had indeed violated federal law, but he was a well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory, so a jury would probably not convict him. In other words, Joe Biden was guilty, but also he was senile, so we shouldn't prosecute him. Hur pointed out that Biden couldn't even remember the year of his son's death, and Biden declared that Hur was lying and that Hur had raised the question of Beau Biden's death, and this supposedly made Joe Biden super-duper mad when he could remember what he was angry about.
There's even reference that I don't remember when my son died. How in the hell dare he raise that?
Well, it turns out that Biden was, as usual, lying. Biden had brought up Beau's death in the interview the way he always does, as a get-out-of-jail-free card, literally. Well, now Congress wants to hear the tape of Biden being senile. So Biden says he's not going to turn it over because the tapes might, quote, jeopardize future investigations, and also because Republicans might use them for political purposes. So just to get this straight, for political purposes, he's going to use executive privilege to block tape of him sounding senile because he's senile. I'm old enough to remember when stuff like this was considered a constitutional crisis.
We've talked for a long time about approaching a constitutional crisis. We are now in it.
Well, there's one piece of good news for Joe Biden. Nobody thinks Joe is at least well-meaning anymore. I've been recently telling you about the greatest invention, maybe of all time, the pod cover by 8 Sleep. Well, today, I want to share some exciting news. The pod just got an upgrade. 8 Sleep has launched its newest generation, the Pod 4 Ultra. The Pod 4 Ultra not only cools and heats automatically, and now also elevates at your command. This high-tech marvel is clinically proven to give you up to 1 hour more quality sleep every night. A precious extra hour we could all use. I know. You might be wondering how this could get any better. Well, for those snore-heavy nights, the pod can actually detect your snoring and then automatically lift your head by a few degrees to improve airflow and stop you or your partner snoring. I've been using 8 Sleep for a few weeks now. I'm still floored by the results. Gone are the nights of tossing and turning or getting up in the middle of the night to adjust the thermostat. Reclaim your sleep by going to 8sleep.com/Shapiro. Use code Shapiro to get $350 off the Pod 4 Ultra. 8 Sleep is currently shipping to the US, Canada, UK, Europe, and Australia. Visit 8sleep.com/Shapiro. Again, that's 8sleep.com/Shapiro. Use code Shapiro today. That's 8sleep.com/Shapiro. Turning to cultural news, Sports Illustrated has decided to top itself once more with its latest cover model for its much-ignored swimsuit edition. You remember the swimsuit edition? The once-a-year issue teenage boys used to steal from the mailbox and then secretly hide beneath their mattresses? Now, you used to have, models like Elle Macpherson, or, say, Christy Brinkley, or, say, Cindy Crawford, or Tyra Banks. You remember body paint, bikinis, no Well, for the past few years, Sports Illustrated has taken it upon itself to, how shall we say this, broaden the sexual horizons of its readers. In 2022, they featured this big-boned lady on the cover. And then in 2023, we had Kim Petras on the cover, a transgender German pop singer. So he went from including size 20s to actual dudes. Suffice it to say, the mandate of the Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition has expanded beyond beautiful women in swimsuits to include human in alleged swimwear. Well, here's this year's cover model. That's Gayle King. She is 69 years old. And here she is explaining, this is a dream come true.
People can dream, God can dream, the universe can dream, a bigger dream than you can ever think for yourself. I would have never thought this was possible. This was nowhere on my bucket list. So I'm thinking maybe it was a dream that I didn't even know I wanted, because now that I'm here, I want it bad.
A dream for her, a nightmare for others. Listen, there's nothing wrong with being a 69-year-old woman, but there is something wrong with a culture that pretends that 69-year-old women belong on the covers of swimsuit magazines, and that the term beauty doesn't mean anything anymore. Our culture that insists men can be women, fat can be fit, old can be young, and then we're super surprised when we end up with a generation of confused kids who can't define their own genders and think they're cats. This all has to be a marketing ploy for Sports Illustrated, of course. And I guess they've moved their audience from horny teenage boys to horny residents of the villages. The bar is officially now so low, most won't be able to tell the difference between the swimsuit edition and your most recent AARP newsletter. We are a rapidly aging country. You gotta go for that boomer demo. I can't wait for next year's Sports Illustrated cover model. Or the year after. I mean, that is a sexy urn. Speaking of the elderly, Robert De Niro, age 80 and father of a 1-year-old, visited the squawking crows of The View on Tuesday and went absolutely ape about Donald Trump, which is just a day ending in Y for Robert De Niro, who spent the last few years wandering around the entertainment world shouting about Trump between filming bad movies and one like okay movie from Martin Scorsese. Let's hear a little bit from this old man yelling at clouds.
It's like he wants to do the worst that he could possibly do to show this country. His slow.
Now, listen, I don't mean to be a jerk, but I'm not up for taking advice from Robert De Niro on anything. This is a man whose early IMDb was Bang the Drum Slowly, Mean Streets, Godfather 2, and Taxi Driver. And here's how he spent his last few years. These are not fake. Who is his agent? A dartboard? I'm still not fully convinced these movies were made. They might be a collective delusion, like the idea that a person named Ellen Page ever existed. But why would I expect more? Our celebrities have been, are, and will be idiots forever, which is why they're making babies at age 80 and making movies like this one. Yes, that is a real movie. If you're a hardworking entrepreneur building your empire from the ground up, you know how valuable your time is. And trust me, I get it. You don't have time in the day to manage all the aspects of your business, particularly HR. This is why you need to talk to my friends over at Bambee. With Bambee, you're not just getting an HR manager, you're getting a dedicated partner who's available by phone, email, and real-time chat. They'll handle crucial tasks like employee onboarding, terminations, performance reviews. With Bambee's HR Autopilot feature, you can streamline essential HR practices like employee training and feedback procedures, freeing up your time for what really matters to your business. All of Bambee's HR managers are based in the US and can support the nuances across all 50 states. HR managers can easily cost $80,000 annually, but Bambee starts at just $99 monthly. So, if you're ready to unleash your business's full potential, don't wait another minute. Call Bambee HR today. Schedule your free consultation by visiting Bambee.com right now. Type Ben Shapiro under podcast when you sign up. Spelled BAMBEE.com. That's Bambee.com. Type in Ben Shapiro to get started today. Get that free consultation. Bambee.com. Type in code Shapiro. Across the pond, King Charles unveiled his first official portrait since he was crowned last year. Let's take a look. Well, that's terrifying. Who painted this? Princess Di? You know, if you're universally hated for cheating on the most beloved princess in the history of the royal family, maybe depicting yourself emerging from the depths of hell isn't a great idea. You basically only paint someone like this if they're dead, and it's the best way you can trap their evil spirit for hundreds of years to avoid some catastrophic event their ghost could trigger. Yep. Even Vigo the Carpathian saw this and said, oh man, what f***ed up did that guy do? Artist Jonathan Yao is to blame for this clearly possessed bloodbath of a painting. It reportedly took him 3 years to finish, which is insane. But I do have an idea for Jonathan's next big piece. Oh my gosh. While we're abroad, it's time to check in on Eurovision, the absolutely inexplicable global phenomenon that pits countries against each other to find the world's weirdest people who are allegedly pop singers. I'm happy the world is banding together for this and not finding the 128 remaining hostages kidnapped by Hamas, but, you know, everybody needs their summer bop. Well, it has now been reported the Dutch contestant, a person named Joost Klein, has been eliminated from the competition after a female member of the production crew made an allegation of intimidation following his performance in the semifinals. Intimidation. Sounds scary. No one wants that to happen. Let's take a look at what this menacing thug looks like. Okay, to be fair, that dude's freaky as hell. Imagine that coming at you at 2 a.m. Both an adult, bowl cut, and a mullet. I do feel bad for the alleged victim. Imagine reporting the crimes. Like, what does he look like, ma'am? Well, he's in a bright blue suit with comically large shoulder pads, and it looks like his job is to perform at children's parties. Amazingly, this dude was not the freakiest person at the Eurovision party. There was this thing representing Ireland. Looks like we found next year's Sports Illustrated cover model. This horrifying creation used to look like this. Unsurprisingly, wokeness turned this lovely young woman into a hideous monster who spouts pro-Hamas propaganda. Go woke, go absolutely horrifyingly hideous. And then there's this character from Switzerland who actually won. Yes, he's a gender non-binary rapper. He can't decide whether he's a boy or a girl. He decided on neutrality. Well, to be fair, he does represent Switzerland. Well, at least we know Europe is in the best of hands. Folks, this has been Ben After Dark. Maybe we'll be back here next week if I decide to punish you. Are you tired of the lies and the twists of the mainstream media talking points? Yeah, me too. Join me in my newest series, Fact, where I dismantle and bring truth to this tiring mainstream agenda.